Hello and welcome to the English Box. Today we are going to talk about conditionals. I'm going to begin by asking you some questions. The first question is, if you have the choice, do you prefer to eat out or stay in and cook? The next question, if you're in a language class, do you normally speak a lot or are you normally quite shy? If you go out with friends at the weekend, what kind of places do you prefer to go to? And if you have mountains of work to do you do it straight away or do you procrastinate? All those questions were examples of conditionals. In fact, they were examples of zero conditionals. All conditionals consist of two clauses, the if clause and the main clause. The if clause is the condition and the main clause is the result. In zero conditionals, the main clause is a definite result of the condition. Let's look at some of my answers to those questions to get a slightly deeper insight. If I have the choice, I prefer to eat out rather than staying in. If I'm in a language class, I normally speak quite a lot. If I go out at the weekend with friends, I normally go to pubs and then sometimes on to clubs. And if I have mountains of work to do, I almost always procrastinate. As I said, these are examples of the zero conditional. In the zero conditional, the if clause is in the present tense and the main clause is also in the present tense. We use the zero conditional to express facts, habits, and general truths. For example, if I have mountains of work, I always procrastinate. This is a habit. You can see that if you place the if clause first, you need a comma between the if and main clauses. However, if you put the main clause first, you do not need a comma before the if clause. Let's look at some more questions. If the weather's nice today, are you going to go to the beach? If you meet friends at the weekend, what will you do together? Do you think you'll pass your next exam if you study hard? And do you think you'll get a good job in your country if you get a good grade at university? What's the difference in the structure of these questions? Well, you may have seen that the if clause is still in the present tense, but the main clause is in the future tense with will or with going to. So if we look at some of my answers, if I get a good grade at university, I don't think it means I'll get a good job afterwards. I'll probably head over to a park to relax if I meet up with friends this weekend. So here we have the main clause in future tense and the if clause in present tense. How about these questions? If you won £1,000,000,000, trillion, gazillion pounds, what would you do with it all? If you were offered a dream job in America, would you move? If you found £10 on the street, would you keep it? And what would you do if a man came up to you in the street and told you he was your long-lost brother? What are the structural differences in these sentences? Well, this is a second conditional. In a second conditional, the if clause is in the past tense, and the main clause consists of the subject, would, and the infinitive of the main verb. This is used for unreal or hypothetical situations. For example, some of my answers may be, if I were offered a job in America, I would have to think very hard, but I think I would accept it. If I found £10 on the ground, I'd probably end up keeping it. I would obviously look around to see if I could find the person who had dropped it, but if not, I would put it in my pocket. So what about these questions? If you had never taken on your current job, what would you have become? If you had known what you know now, how would you have lived your life differently? Little existential question for you there. Would you have gone to school when you were younger if you hadn't had to? And finally, would you have started learning English if you knew how complicated the conditionals are? I have a mixed conditional at the end just to show you how complicated they are. This is a third conditional. A third conditional consists of the if clause with the past perfect and the main clause with would have and the past participle of the main verb. We use this for unreal past events. So let's look at some of my answers. If I hadn't taken on my current job, I wouldn't have become such a fan of YouTube. And if I'd known what I know now, I would have taken a greater interest in lots of things from an earlier age. Okay, now we have a short exercise for you. You have the zero conditional here. If you study, you get good results. I would like you to change this sentence into a first, second, and third conditional. So think about the structural differences and change the sentence. The answers are just about to be shown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here are the answers. Zero conditional, if you study, you get good results. First conditional, if you study, you will get good results. Second conditional, if you studied, you would get good results. And the third conditional, if you had studied, you would have got good results. Here are 5 sentences. In each sentence there is one mistake. Correct the mistakes